Moria is a refugee camp located on the small Grecian island of Lesvos. While Moria was originally designated to hold no more than 3,000 people, on any given day there is approximately 8,000 refugees living there, waiting to be granted entrance into either the EU or Turkey. This camp is considered one of the most inhumane in the world. According to the International Rescue Committee, an NGO working within the camp, 30% of their patients have attempted suicide. This means that people who have fled to save their lives are now giving them up due to the despair caused by the conditions in the camp. There are several factors that have led to the somber conditions of Moria, including the geographic location of Lesvos as a natural entrance point to the EU and Turkey from war-torn countries. Additionally, the 2016 EU and Turkey Refugee Agreement resulted in a stagnation of refugees being accepted into either location from Lesvos. This policy extended the wait time in Moria from 3 days to as long as 2 years, resulting in the population explosion far past Moria's capacity. While these factors help explain the population increase, Lamia Karim's theory of the shadow state can inform us as to why this population explosion was received so poorly by the governing system of the island compared to similar locations. Karim defines the shadow state as a quasi-sovereign status of the NGO as a provider of essential services. In Bangladesh, this caused the privatization of state services, depoliticized the state, and caused the withdrawal of the state from public life. Applying Karim's theory to Moria, the shadow state of NGOs took a less organized form than in rural Bangladesh. It still disenfranchised the local government, but due to the resistance of the numerous small NGOs and individual volunteers to cooperate, the shadow state of NGOs was instead a shadow anarchy of NGOs. Originally, Spyros Gleinos, mayor of Lesvos, reported that the NGOs arriving on the island were insurmountably helpful and coordinated well with the local authorities to address the crisis. This changed in 2015 when a toddler refugee named Alan Kurdi washed upon the Turkish shore lifeless. Photos of this occurrence circulated international headlines. In response, a wave of informal NGOs and individuals arrived on Lesvos. By early 2016, only 30 of the 81 NGOs on the island were registered with local authorities, and those that were not registered were not likely to collaborate with the local government. Mayor Gleinos stated that the unregistered NGOs and individuals were creating more chaos than good. Refugees were being given bad information, treated like herded cattle, and the needs of the locals of Lesvos were completely ignored. While some volunteers unsuccessfully called for mass coordination, others argued that the anarchy was the most efficient strategy. At this point, the Lesvos government was completely disenfranchised as the NGOs fought for autonomy to provide services to the refugees. However, since the NGOs failed to be cohesive, they replaced the local government with a state of anarchy as each NGO and individual volunteer functioned as a different quasi-sovereign entity itself. Since Lesvos was simply a temporary stopping point for most refugees, this disorganization was tolerable at the time. However, this was the state of the crisis on Lesvos when the 2016 EU-Turkey Refugee Agreement stagnated the ability of the refugees to be accepted into either country, and Moria's population exploded. No matter what, this would have been overwhelming for the island. However, since there was no coordinated power at the time due to the anarchy that was functioning as a government, structural solutions to the population influx could not be implemented. Today, the inhumane conditions that have resulted are making many call for the closure of Moria. While these conditions are the result of larger political problems, it is undeniable that the local governing system, or lack thereof, on Lesvos perpetuated this problem further.